skills practice for section 4.3, we have a diagram with 4 lines. We're only really concerned with 3 lines at any one time. So if it helps you, you can use your hand or your finger or your pencil or a piece of paper to cover up another line. So they're telling you that line M is parallel to line P. And notice how it's not marked on the picture. So that's why it's important to read directions. These lines are parallel. If you didn't have parallel lines, you wouldn't be able to find a lot of congruent angle pairs. Name all the angles congruent to the given angle and give a reason for each answer. Okay, so what's congruent to angle 1? Well, if I look at angle 1, now I'm going to block off a line. I definitely do not want to block off one of the parallel ones. That's just not a possibility because parallel lines are going to give you the congruent angles that you want. So don't cross them off. But if I cross this one off, notice how I can still see angle 1. Now there's 3 angles here that are congruent to angle 1. Angle 1 is congruent to angle 6 because they're vertical. Angle 1 is congruent to angle 9 because they're corresponding. And angle 1 is congruent to angle 14 because it's alternate exterior. So that's what we're looking for in this section. Find the angles that you know are congruent to that angle and say why. Let's try number 2. They're asking you about angle 7. So I'm going to cover up the other line. That way I can see angle 7. It's vertical to angle 4. It's alternate interior with angle 12. And it's corresponding with angle 15. So that's what we're looking for. When you have parallel lines in a transversal, you're going to have 4 angles that are acute and congruent to each other. And you're also going to have 4 obtuse angles that are congruent and acute to each other. So these 4 right here are all congruent to each other. Number 7 is a very simple diagram. You have 2 parallel lines and a transversal. Now, these other ones are way more complicated, and you can definitely do these. But it's best if you redraw the diagram. So I'll give you an example with number 10. Notice how these lines are parallel because of the marks. Also, these lines are parallel because of these marks. See how they gave 2 little colored in directed triangles there? That's because we already used 1 for these lines. So you don't want to make the mistake in thinking that this line right here is parallel to this line because they touch. That's why they got to use different marks. Okay, so if we just go with the 2 horizontal lines being parallel first and work on this diagram knowing that this angle right here is 78, you can get pretty far. You can get halfway done with the picture. So all of your acute angles are going to be 78 degrees. So its vertical angle is 78, its alternate interior angle is 78, and then its corresponding angle is 78. The other obtuse angles are going to be supplementary to this. Remember, consecutive interiors are supplementary, linear pairs are supplementary. So these angles are 102 degrees. So that's half of the work that you need to do in the diagram. Here's the other half. So we have parallel lines again, but we don't have any angle measures. And that's an issue. So what you need to do is cover up one of the other lines, because remember, these lines are parallel as well. So if those lines are parallel, you can transfer these measures over to here. So if it was like one big sticker where you have these 4 angles, you could take that sticker off and just stick it right over here in the same spot. So angle 6 is 78, angle 7 is 102, angle 4 is 78, and angle 3 is 102. And I know that's a little tight in there. It's tough to see. It's probably a good idea to redraw that picture. Now you do the same thing here. You have parallel lines, so take these 4 angles off, bring them over here and stick them down. That's going to be 102, that's 78, and that's going to be 102.